Hey, the pimento rifle. Drop the gun! Oh, shit! I'm hit. I'm okay. But I'm not gonna die.
Welcome to Badges, Bullets, and Blunders. I'm the host, Travis Harless. Before we get started, if you'd like to support the podcast, go check out our friends at Slick Sleeve Syndicate. It's just a t-shirt company. Buy yourself a shirt, maybe a hat. Today's guest is Chris Reeves. Chris was an MP in the military police in the Navy. And how long? Chris, why don't you tell us about yourself? What did you do before you joined the Navy? How long were you in the Navy? And then tell us about your assignments, like what you did as an MP or anything else you did.
Yeah, so initially what motivated me to get into the military is I didn't have the best group of friends necessarily growing up. And when I say that, I mean like they were getting into a lot of trouble and, you know, I would say that they were surpassing like a hoodlum stage and, you know, starting to get arrested.
It's a low-grade criminal?
Yeah, pretty much.
From hoodlum to criminal?
Yeah, exactly. And I was always into sports, like I wrestled since 6th grade. So, you know, I had like a higher standard for myself, but I was getting like wrapped into some of the trouble they were getting into. And I'm like, nah, I don't want to end up like some of these guys. Some of them were getting shot, ODing, you name it. So I'm like, okay, let me not go down this path. And kind of what influenced me was one of my buddies. He disappeared for like 6 months and came back. I was driving down the street. I was having a bad day. And so I was driving down this street that was predominantly Peckerwoods, like racist white guys. Yeah. I'm like, I kind of want to get in a fight today. So I'm driving up and down the street looking for one of these guys. And my buddy that disappeared for 6 months, he comes out of the house. He lived on that street and no shirt on, looking jacked. And he's like, hey, Chris, what's up? I'm like, oh, shit. So I stop. We catch up. He's like, yeah, I've been in boot camp. I'm like, oh, shit. So we proceed to hang out for 2 weeks straight. And he just kind of was showing me his training, videos online of what he was going to do. He was infantry. So I was like, man, this is badass. And he used to get into a lot of trouble too. So I kind of seen how he changed his life around. And I'm like, this is what I want to do. Yeah. So then I start looking into what I want to do in the military. And I'm like, man, being a SEAL sounds cool because I'm watching all the videos online.
Yeah, of course.
And then I'm like, fuck, but I don't know how to swim that good. So I'm like, okay, I go down to MEPS. I think I'm like 15, 16. I tell them, yeah, I'm interested in being a SEAL because I have a wrestling background. My cardio game's crazy. I could run all day, wrestle all day. I'm like, but this swimming might be an issue. Yeah. And they're like, oh, don't worry about it. Like you have plenty of time. We got 2 years to get you trained up. So we go to the YMCA like a couple times a week and swim, and I swam like a rock. Yeah. And I'm like sinking because I think initially they have you swimming like 10 laps. And on lap 9, I'm just like sinking. And I'm like, fuck, but my trainer's a SEAL. Yeah. I can't have him see me be a bitch. So I'm like basically drowning myself in the pool. And then I end up giving up and like walking. He's like, what happened? I'm like, I was about to drown. You didn't see that? He's like, yeah, that's the point. I'm like, oh, shit. So anyways, I'm training with these guys.
That's how you meet the wizard.
Yeah, I know.
Have you heard of that before?
Yeah.
Meet the wizard?
Yeah, meeting the wizard is when you drown during training.
Yeah, pass out. They got to pull you out.
Yeah, I wasn't there yet mentally.
Yeah. Was this here in town?
No, this was in Modesto.
Oh, okay.
So I grew up in Bakersfield, and then around 15, we moved up to Modesto.
Okay. So you got Peckerwoods up there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Unfortunately. So, I was training with them for about 2 years, and I couldn't decide if I wanted to do SEAL or SWIC, which is like basically the combat boats that pick them up from mission or drop them off. Yeah. Because both seemed badass. So I'm like, okay, let me get into one of these. And let me reverse back a little bit. I was so dead set on going in. I had my recruiter come to my house when I was 16 and had my parents sign away custody to the military. Yeah. So I was basically under
under contract.
Yeah, under contract at 16. Like when I tell people that, they're like, I didn't even know that was an option. I'm like, yeah, I was that dead set. So when I was about to ship out, I think like 3 months before, I used to work at a cabinetry shop. And they're like, oh, you want to work some overtime today? We have this huge entertainment center that we need moved. I'm like, yeah, of course. and it was made out of oak. While I'm on the backside moving the top half of it, someone didn't secure one of the shelves, so I can't see because I'm on the backside. We start moving it, and this huge, probably like 40-pound shelf falls directly on my foot and
dang.
crushes like 3 of my toes.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, and I'm trying to walk it off. I'm limping. I'm trying to be tough about it. And 10 minutes later, I'm like, fuck, my foot is like on fire. So I go in the bathroom, take my foot out of my shoe, and my sock is just full of blood.
Oh, damn.
I'm like, fuck, I should tell someone about this. So I tell my supervisor. He's like, holy shit, let me tell the owner. The owner comes out. He's like, what the fuck are you doing here still, man? Like, get out of here. So needless to say, I had to tell my recruiter about it. And he's like, dude, this is going to set you back like 9 months because you're not going to be able to train. You're not going to be conditioned. He's like, what if we just switch your job out? You'll be able to ship out at the same time, but you'll just have to switch over like once you're in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, well, yeah, because I'm looking at all my friends over here. They're getting in trouble. I'm like, I don't want to leave myself susceptible to get myself in, get myself in trouble. So I'm like, yeah, I'll do that. And I'm like, so what job is it? And they're like, military police. I'm like, oh, what's that about? And they're showing me videos of guys jumping out of helicopters and boats. So I'm like, oh, this looks badass, dude. So fast forward, I'm standing at the front gate. Oh, checking IDs. I'm like, oh, God, what did I get myself into?
Well, that's funny.
They pulled the classic. It's like, you can just lateral move to become a SEAL.
You can switch anytime you want.
Yeah, anytime you want. Sure. And anytime I brought it up, they're like, we're undermanned. We don't have enough of you guys. You're not going anywhere. Yeah. I'm like, fuck. And I got 5 years to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I did an extra year too. I'm like, oh, I'm going to love it when I'm in. So of course I'll do the extra year.
Yeah.
Bonus.
Yeah. And then when we were in A school, which is basically you go to boot camp, and then A school is what trains you for your specific job field. It was between me and another guy to be a canine handler.
Yeah.
So they were going off of range scores. I was an expert shooter. So was the other dude in my competition. PT scores. I was like top of running, push-ups, sit-ups, all that. Well, so was this guy. He was like right on my back. And they're like, all right, it's between you two because we're only going to pick one canine handler out of like the 80 or 90 of us that were there. Mm-hmm. So we're like, damn, we're cool. But now we're looking at each other like competition because I'm like, well, fuck, I might actually like this job if I'm working with dogs all day. Mm-hmm. And they finally got down to test scores. And I think he had like 1% higher than me in test scores, and they picked him.
Yeah.
I'm like, damn.
Fucking sucks.
Yeah, but that never stopped me from getting bit by a dog because they would take us and be like, oh, yeah, put on this bite sleeve or this bite suit.
Be an agitator.
Yeah, and then run as fast as you can that way.
Yeah. Did you ever get the swimming down?
The swimming? No, I never did.
See, I thought being from here, that I figured that because I thought everybody knew how to swim. Like when I went to boot camp, in the Marine Corps boot camp, when they do the swim qual, I was 17, kind of like you're saying. Like I signed my paperwork at MEPS to go on a delayed entry program on my 17th birthday, and I was in boot camp. I was 17, and I just thought adult humans could swim. I didn't realize at that age, like I didn't realize that there was people that don't know how.
Yeah,
because I grew up here. It's hot, and like there's pools everywhere. Like, I never had a pool, but like I was always in someone's pool, like every day of the summer, so like I just knew how to swim.
Yeah.
And so anyways, you're doing the swim qual and you get in, like one of the events is they just have everybody get in the shallow end and they say, okay, go from the shallow end all the way across to the other end of the deep end, Olympic pool, and then climb out.
Yeah.
Well, that's easy enough, So I'm just like wading in, and there's this huge crowd of guys like wading, and you get deeper and deeper. And once you get to the part where you have to actually start swimming, then like, all the non-swimming people, like they start to panic and they start to drown and they start to grab all the people around them. And so like pretty soon, like if you know how to swim, you have people grabbing onto you. And there's this like danger area from like probably like 6 feet deep to like 8 or 9 feet deep, where that's where all the non-swimming people are really starting to panic. They don't make it past like the 9-foot mark. If you get past that, then you're safe.
The adrenaline's already wearing off. So.
Yeah, well, and they can't swim, so they're not getting out of there. So they're grabbing onto you. You got to kick and fight your way through it until you get deep enough to where all of the non-swimming fucks are stuck back there, and then you're home free and you can just keep swimming.
Yeah, I had the same experience, and I was cool with this black dude from Louisiana.
Yeah,
and I got out of the pool pretty fast, so I got to see who couldn't swim.
Yeah,
and once the black dude from Louisiana got out, I was like, damn, so the stereotype's true, huh?
Yeah.
He's like, what? I'm like, you don't know how to swim, huh?
Yeah.
He's like, no.
Well, they would just separate it. Like, I don't know if they still do this, but Marine Corps boot camp, they would just like say all the dark green recruits will go over here, and they're just like automatically separated them from the jump. Yeah, a little stereotype.
Yeah.
Hey, negative buoyancy is a real thing.
And it's a real thing. You ever listen to David Goggins? He talks about it. Like, he says that like that's a real thing, and like and he's a Navy SEAL. Like, so
Yeah.
he can swim, but he's like it's really hard for him to do it. But yeah,
Yeah, I think even if I did carry on and like go to buds and stuff like that, swimming still would have been an issue. It's just something about waters, like
well, yeah. And if some people have that negative buoyancy problem, maybe that's maybe that's you. They just
yeah.
naturally sink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think like with wrestling and stuff like that, it's just like I don't know, maybe you're more dense.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, for sure. Right. For real. I was telling somebody the other day, in Hawaii, I used to go Hawaii and go on vacations like once a year. And my wife and I were out there one time with some friends, and we would go snorkeling off the beach. And like if you snorkel, it's not like regular swimming because you got this mask and you're just basically floating.
Mhm.
You know, you can kick and swim, but you can just like lay there and float with the snorkel on and not really exert a lot of energy. And so I went out one time from the beach, went out like out past where you could see us, and me and this other dude were out there for like 2 hours just snorkeling around. Came back and my wife was like freaked out. She's like, I thought you'd drown because I've been gone for so long, you know? Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, my first duty station, it was kind of weird. It was on the East Coast, and primarily what was there was CBs, which is like combat builders,
Mhm.
and Navy SEALs. I think we had 2 or 3 SEAL teams there, and the band.
Nice.
So it was like polar opposites because you'd see like all the band nerds, and then you'd see badass SEAls walking around.
Yeah, yeah. This in Virginia?
Yeah, in Virginia. It was Little Creek.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how long were you in the Navy for? For 5 years?
5 years, yeah.
So did you get a 5-year contract because you initially signed for like a SEAL contract? Is that right? And then is that why it was 5 years?
Well, they asked me, they're like, well, do you want to do an additional year for a bonus? And I'm like, well, what bonus? What are we talking here?
What are the numbers?
Yeah, and they're like, either $4,000 or an additional $50,000 in college funds. And I'm like, oh, I'll take the additional 50.
Yeah.
So fast forward, I'm trying to claim my bonus, and they're like, oh no, you took the $4,000. I'm like, no, I didn't.
Yeah.
Why would I take the $4,000?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh no, it says right here on the paperwork. So I got all my files sent to me, and I'm reading through it, and they had me sign 2 different papers of the bonuses, and they just went with the 4,000. And
Yeah.
I'm like, what? So I did another year
Yeah.
for $4,000? Like, wow. And I think they just like finessed me in the paperwork,
Yeah.
basically.
You couldn't go back and get your $4,000 later? No.
Well, they sent it to me. They distributed it like throughout the years, so I didn't even notice I got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they figured out the best way to screw me, and they
Yeah.
went with that.
That's what they went with. Nice. Nice. So were you stationed at the same duty station the whole time?
No, I did 2 years there at Virginia Beach, and then another 3 in Naples, Italy, like southern Italy.
Oh, nice.
Hmm.
That's nice.
But the first duty station was cool. We had this master chief. He was like the saltiest dude I ever met. Like, I think he was in his 50s going on 60s. And he was a badass. He had a tattoo of Afghanistan, but a squid like strangling Afghanistan. And we're like, oh, this motherfucker's crazy.
Yeah.
But he was like an asshole grandpa, pretty much.
Mhm.
So like all of us new guys that came there, I guess they had orders to send some of the MAs, Master at Arms, the military police, over to Afghanistan for assistance. So he brings all the new guys in and he interviews us one by one, like, do you want to go? And of course, all of us said yes, you know.
Mhm.
And so he waits till he interviews all of us, and then he lines us up outside of his office, and he's like, all right, I know all you guys want to go, but trust me, I'm doing you a favor, and I'm not sending any of you guys because all you guys are young. All you guys want to go, and that tells me that you're not ready to go. He's like, because you're not understanding the seriousness of what's going on out there.
Yeah. Wow. Do you ever do any time on a boat?
No, we did shore patrol
Mhm.
for like the docks and everything right there. But that's as close to a boat as I got. Or if people went AWOL, we'd have to find them and drag them onto their ship.
Mhm.
That's about as close to a ship
Yeah.
as I got.
Yeah. Yeah. I never laid eyes on a boat the whole time I was in.
Yeah, one time we were on patrol on the boat, and it's dark. I think it was like 2 a.m., something like that. And we start to see something that almost looked like a shark fin going on the water close to the boat. We're like, what the hell is that? and we'd cruise over there, couldn't find it, and then it'd pop up somewhere else. And we're like, what the hell is this? We thought it was a dolphin or something. Well, come to find out, it was a seal that had like those hoverboards, the underwater hoverboards, and they're just cruising through doing training, but nobody told us.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking like, damn, what if the enemy had this? Like, how would we know? Do we even have like radars or anything to pick up on this?
Yeah.
And nobody told us. What if we're like, oh shit, look at that? You know?
You can imagine start shooting at this fucking baby seal.
Well, nobody told us, so that goes to show you how good communication was, you know?
Yeah.
That happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. The some security breaches. Remember like what Danny was talking about? Breaching.
What's that called? Like, is that like red team?
Yeah, red teaming, like security operations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but yeah. So you had some questions about the civilian law enforcement and how that relates to like military law enforcement.
Yeah. So basically, like,
Oh, we never finished. Sorry, I'm interrupting you. Your background. So you did 5 years in the Navy as an MP, and then what happened after that?
after that, I got out and I just got a regular civilian job. I started working with my buddy doing home theater systems for residential and commercial. So basically, TVs, surround sound systems, security cameras, any type of electronics for houses.
Yeah.
I did that for a few years, and then started using my GI Bill and working towards my bachelor's. So that's what I was doing for a while. Now I'm in sales, so
Yeah.
it's a whole different territory.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, that GI Bill's
Yeah.
it's pretty nice.
But while I was in, we were working with DOD cops. And that's kind of why I wanted to come on, just to talk about the difference of like military cops, Department of Defense cops, civilian cops, and because everyone kind of operates different.
Yeah.
you know?
What is DOD cops? Like, what is even Department of Defense? Like, how is that different than military policing? What is that?
It's weird. Well, their jurisdiction is only on base, but they have the same abilities as like a cop on the civilian side. But their jurisdiction is only on base, so it's weird. A lot of those guys, they were retirees, so they'd go do a career in the military, get out, and then be a DOD cop. And basically, we had the same job function as when we were in. So
What would the DoD cops handle that you guys wouldn't handle?
same exact thing.
So you, like they would still do like all like the calls for service, like DUI stuff, crash.
Yeah, and I
alerts.
think their main purpose is because, we're only there for so long. I think so that they have seniority and they kind of have experience with the base,
Yeah, because they're long term.
Yeah, basically. So, because a lot of them would train us once we got there and like catch us up to speed with what was going on.
So are they using the UCMJ for like their enforcement, or are they using outside civilian laws?
UCMJ, well, the outside civilian laws apply, and then UCMJ is just on top of that. So,
Because as a military police, you can't charge any kind of outside civilian like law violations, right? It's all under the UCMJ.
yeah, well, no, only if you're in the service, you could charge them with UCMJ crimes.
Yeah.
But you can't hold a civilian to those same standards.
Yeah.
Like a spouse.
Yeah, but I mean, if they were to do something that conflicted with military rules, then obviously they can get banned from base, or there would be some repercussions. But they're not going to get the same treatment as a military member.
Yeah. An example I think of is I remember guys that would get DUIs. Like if they got a DUI on the base, they would get punished from the UCMJ side, but that wouldn't go on their like civilian record. Is that true? Like if you get, let's say you're off base and you get a DUI, you get pulled over by the regular local sheriff or police, and you catch a DUI. And now you catch a criminal case, you go to civilian jail and go through that whole process. But if you get one when you're on base, it doesn't apply the exact same. Is that right?
Yeah, they wouldn't have to go to court. That's actually a good point, because I never gave a civilian a DUI, but
well, I mean, like a military. Like
military members, it gets handled like in-house within the military.
Yeah. So it does end up on their civilian record, right?
Yeah, and it was like when I was in, it was zero tolerance. They just switched over to that because a few years before I was in, they would kind of cut you a break, give you treatment, punish you, but they wouldn't kick you out. But then when I was in, it was zero tolerance. So
really, so you get kicked out for a DUI.
Wow. Oh yeah, almost automatic. So that kind of affected us because you're kind of put in a hard spot. Obviously they're fucking up because they're drinking and driving, but you have to understand that if you take it all the way, their career's done, you
Yeah.
know, so it puts you in a really hard spot. And
That's wild. I didn't know they were doing that.
yeah, we're pulling everyone over from E1s to captains. You know, we could
Yeah.
pull the CO over if we wanted to.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, so the DoD, they handle, so they charge both. They can charge UCMJ and they can charge on the civilian side, or how does that work?
No, I don't think they can charge on the civilian side. So
Okay.
maybe that's the difference too.
Okay, and they do enforcement for civilian staff who are on base, like contractors and spouses and family members.
Yeah, exactly.
But as an MP, you don't do any enforcement for those people. Is that right?
No, we would still enforce that too.
You just, but I guess there's no teeth to be had since they're not under the UCMJ.
Yeah, yeah.
So you can just do like base bans or whatever.
Yeah. So essentially, like, let's say they were a civilian that was just had a job on base.
Mhm.
More than likely, it would affect their job
Mhm.
and future jobs because, you know, if you get kicked off of this base, then it's going to go base wide.
Okay. So then working with DoD, so then to talk to us about that, you said that you did work with some DoD guys. Is this when you're in Virginia?
Yeah, yeah. And they were characters, man. Like you'd have some, like, okay, for example, I had this one guy that every time at guard mount at the precinct, he'd be like, all right, let's see who's gonna get the most tickets today. And him and a couple other guys would have competitions of who could get the most tickets. But then you'd have another DOD guy that he told me one time when he was training me, he's like, why would I give people tickets? Like they're already here, they're already stressed out.
Mhm.
You know, obviously they're not a dirtbag because they're in the military. Why are we going to make their life more stressful?
Mhm.
So, you know, you're getting trained from one perspective by this guy that's having a competition of how many tickets he can give.
Mhm.
And on the other hand, why stress these people out with the other guy? You know? So it kind of raises a lot of questions of how are you going to be an enforcer? You know, what style are you going to go with?
Yeah. Yeah. So then you said these DoD guys are typically like retired. So they're military police. They retire, then they come back on the, I guess it's not civilian side. It's they work directly for Department of Defense.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
They're just government employees.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and then some of these guys had no military background. Like I was working with this one guy and I don't think he had any military background, but he was probably working there 20 plus years.
Mhm.
And the beaches on base would close. So at nighttime we would cruise by the beach, make sure no one was out there. But we pull up one time and we see like this Scion and then a bunch of shoes just like leading up to the beach. So he looks at me, he's like, "Oh, I guess we're gonna have to go clear the beach." So we walk up there, and it's just a bunch of people skinny dipping.
Mhm.
Like probably 5 girls, 5 guys skinny dipping. He's like, "Oh, this is gonna be fun." He's like, "Watch this." So he gets his flashlight out. He's screaming, "Hey, everyone, line up!" We're like, "But we don't have clothes on." He's like, "I don't care." That's what he meant by this is gonna be fun.
Oh no. Oh man.
So he's just shining them with the light one by one. Naked, dude. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my
Just
god.
naked and
Yeah.
afraid.
And I gotta back him up, you know,
Yeah.
so I have a straight face,
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah.
But in my head, I'm cracking up because I know what he's doing. He's
Yeah.
embarrassing them.
That reminds me of the drill instructor who likes shower time just a little too much.
Oh yeah.
Um,
So what were the like more common like types of calls for service that you would have to go to other than like traffic related stuff?
A lot of it was domestics because we had on base housing. So a lot of it was domestics. We would patrol on base housing. And it was kind of funny because you could kind of be like, what day is it? Oh, her husband's at work. We already know who's going to be walking to whose house cheating on their husband pretty much. They're on
Yeah.
schedule. Yeah.
Damn. That's
You know, and then the husbands would be on deployment. So,
Mhm.
you know, you can kind of tell like who's on deployment at what time.
yeah.
So there was a lot of that, a lot of bar fights, a lot of drunk people. One time we had a SEAL go AWOL and he pulled a gun out at one of the people at the PX
Mhm.
and was making threats. And when we got on shift, they're like, "Yeah, you guys are going to have to go find this SEAL. He's pulling a gun out." And we're like, "Well, fuck, he's a SEAL.
Yeah.
We're trained, but we're not
Yeah.
trained like that. So we're patrolling the base. He could be anywhere." So it was like nerve wracking. They're like, "Oh, go clear this building, go clear this bunker, or go clear this area." And my
Yeah.
heart's like pounding because
Yeah.
I'm like, this guy could be anywhere. And I've got a M9 Beretta, you know. This guy's gonna kill me if I run
Yeah.
into
John
him.
Rambo.
Hard
Yeah.
pass. Hard pass.
And we're in a police unit, so it's like we're just targets driving
Yeah.
around.
Yeah. I was stationed in 29 Palms, and I lived in the base housing that was like off the base, but it's still part of the base or whatever. And I one time I'd come home from work that day, and I had gone into the house and I had something in the car that I had to bring into my house. And I went in, I took my blouse off, and so I was wearing just my green skivvy shirt and my cami pants. And I walked back out to the car and grabbed like a box, and I would go walking back in, and one of the MPs is driving by, and he like stops and like rolls his window and is like, "Hey," and I'm like, "Oh great, what does he want?" And he's like, uh, he like dressed me down for not wearing my blouse and cover when I was outside and in public. He's like, "You make sure that you need to make sure that you have your blouse and your cover on." I'm like, "Dude, I'm fucking off work. I'm at my fucking. I mean, it's not my house, but
Yeah.
my house or whatever." I'm like, yeah, I knew. Well, that wasn't the moment, but I knew I wasn't going to stay in the movie. It's like some guy can just flag me down and tell me I'm not wearing the right fucking
Sure.
shirt when I'm like for this, 12 seconds that I'm out in front of my own fucking house. Like, yeah, sorry, thanks.
I screwed up once because we used to have to when I was in Italy, we used to have to patrol NATO base that had like satellites for NSA. So we'd have to go to guard mount at the precinct, then go to the armory, get our weapons, and they required us to have M16s out there, but we had to start loading up out at the NSA base because people started flashing their guns to people in Italy driving down the street because Italians don't know how to drive.
Yeah.
And we had a couple idiots working with us that would flash their gun and to intimidate them to get out of the way. So they're like, yeah, keep the guns in the trunk and load up out there. So one day it was my job to take all the ammunition out there. And I think it was like 2 ammunition cans, hundreds of bullets in there. And we're halfway to the NATO base and they're like, hey, you brought the ammunition, right? I'm like, yeah, I think, pretty sure. And they're like, let's stop and look. So we opened the trunk, no ammunition. I'm like, oh shit, what did I do with it? I left it in the parking lot where the unit was at that we were taking out. I'm like, oh fuck, dude.
Yeah.
No one's even called us yet. So I don't think they found the ammunition.
Yeah.
So we drive back and our supervisors are standing right next to the ammunition cans. And they're looking at us like, what are you guys doing back over here? We don't say shit. I just get out, pick up the cans, get back in.
Yeah.
And they're calling us on the phone like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
I'm like, nothing. They're
Yeah.
like, did we just see you get the ammunition cans from the ground? I'm like, no.
Nah, man.
It wasn't me.
Yeah. And like, I don't know if they thought they're hallucinating or what, but the fact that none of us even addressed it or said anything, they're like, maybe he wasn't. Maybe it was his lunch or something.
Yeah.
But no, I left hundreds of bullets.
All right, you just walk in like you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, and most of the time people won't question you.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, if I do this with confidence, no one's going to say anything. But I'm like, dude, I would have been so screwed. And how stupid did I look doing that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes they had us working with the Italian army. So like at the NATO base,
Does Italy have an army?
oh yeah. And they're posted everywhere, dude. Like you would go downtown and they'd have like tanks down there
Oh, really?
Oh, shit.
just for presence. I'm like, this is not a bad idea because no one's going to do anything stupid around a tank, you know? But one time at the NATO base, we'd have a post and then the Italian army would have a post. Well, their post had the restroom. So sometimes we had to go over there and use the bathroom. We never really talked to them because a lot of them, they didn't know English. A lot of them were like from the country and just enlisted. And I go over there to use the restroom one time and I'm hearing something outside the window, like in the bushes. I'm like, what the fuck is that? So I'm done taking a piss and I look out the window and they're over there fighting each other, wrestling and shit. And
Nice.
they see me looking out the window and they stand at attention. I'm like, no, keep going.
Yeah.
Like, don't let me stop you guys.
Yeah.
Because they'd just be over there jacking around, dude. Like,
Nice. Just like any other unit, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
they
Yeah,
thought I was going to get them in trouble or something. I'm like,
Yeah.
no, this is entertaining. We're not doing shit for the next 12 hours.
Yeah, you leave a couple of 19-year-old military age dudes alone, and they're going to be wrestling.
Yeah,
After
exactly.
not very long. Yeah, eventually a wrestling match will break out. I say 19. We were at SWAT training last week.
Yeah.
We were doing the PT test, and I look over, and a couple of 30-year-old dudes that are wrestling on the grass right next to the wrestling room. Actually, we're at the training
20 feet away
facility.
from
We're
the
20 feet
actual-
away from the mat room, and these guys are on the grass wrestling. I'm like, man.
Just as good.
Yeah. Yeah. So, anyways, what were you? You wanted to ask some stuff about difference between civilian side or DoD, law enforcement, policing.
Yeah, definitely. Like I was asking some people that I know because I kind of want to have civilians ask cops because I feel like there's not like a whole lot of communication there.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a secret society to them, you
Yeah.
know? And it's like they ask me some questions and I'm like, well, there's a huge difference between what I was doing and dealing with military members and what civilian cops are dealing with on the civilian side because that's where all the dirt bags are at, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot more restrictions, and what I think I was never a military police, but I think there's more restrictions on the civilian side and like what the police are allowed to do. Like when you're in the military, you sign a contract, and you are under the UCMJ. I keep saying the acronym, the Uniform Code of Military Justice, and so there's a different standard that applies that like search and seizure and things that don't really that don't apply in the military. Like shoot, not even like the policing side, but I just think about like being an active duty guy living in the barracks. It's like every Thursday, the company first sergeant or company gunny is going to come through and inspect my room.
Yeah.
Like there's no like
Right to privacy.
yeah, no, there's zero right to
There's no
privacy.
Fourth Amendment.
Exactly. There's no Fourth Amendment
You don't have
protections.
rights. Are you kidding
Yeah,
me?
yeah. So
Government property.
exactly. So it's a lot different in that regard. But yeah, anything specific on what?
Well, like for instance, like we were deathly afraid of using our weapons. So in our arsenal, it was almost not even there. So we kind of just figured whatever situation we go to, we're getting hands on. We're probably gonna fight. We're probably gonna use our baton, maybe our pepper spray, but we're like deathly afraid of using our weapons, as opposed to like you hear a lot of events going on with a lot of police that are trigger happy or even use their weapons by mistake. And it's like there's a huge difference there to where we're afraid to use it. And then, you know, you see some instances with civilian cops to where, I thought that was a taser. It was actually my sidearm.
Yeah,
you
you're
know?
talking about the Bark train station
Yeah,
shooting.
yeah.
Yeah, that a couple of things there. That's a they blamed it on a training issue where that officer thought she was using her taser on a guy they were fighting with, but she ended up shooting him and killing him. Um, that's a big time training issue, I think. I mean, you should know the difference between the two. And one of the things a lot of agencies do to prevent that is we do this at ours, is that you have to mount your taser on the opposite side of your shooting side so that like your brain won't think, if you're a right-handed shooter, your gun goes in your right hand and your taser goes in your left hand. And so like it's supposed to kind of help you from having that training accident, or not, that's not training accident, it's a real life accident, but you're supposed to always train that you're shooting your taser with your left, you're shooting your pistol with your right, and to help prevent that specifically. And I mean, that's something that I was kind of doing that to begin before that Bark shooting even happened. I would set my equipment up that way because I just didn't want to. I was more concerned with I don't want to be stuck in a situation where I've got a taser in my hand and then this situation unfolds and it turns into a deadly force scenario, and now I'm stuck. I'm stuck with a taser in my hand when I would for something that would call for an
Yeah,
actual
yeah.
gun. So I was always trained that way. I'm a right-handed shooter, so I would always operate my taser on the left side, anyways. But what else? You're talking about the trigger happy thing. I think that's a trope. That's a narrative that gets kind of pushed out there. Like you think of 2020 and all the craziness that the country went through, after the George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, and the narrative is pushed that cops are trigger happy and they're just like shooting and killing unarmed people all the time. But like if you dig down to the numbers, the fact of the matter is it's very rare that something like that actually happens. But when something does happen, it just gets so much attention that it feels like, or it can, if you're not paying very close attention, like most people are to most things, it can feel like it's a big epidemic problem that's happening.
Yeah, it's kind of like plane accidents. Like there's thousands of flights every day, millions per
Yeah.
year, but
Yeah.
one plane crashes, another one crashes. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm never getting on a plane again.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's like,
exactly.
but statistically,
Yeah.
the numbers are low.
The chances of you being killed in a plane crash are like almost zero compared to like a million other different ways you could die,
Yeah.
But yeah, one plane crash happens in 20 years and everyone's like, oh my God, exactly. That's perfect. That's a perfect example. So I think that the perception that some people have of police shootings being like a higher occurrence than they are is common. Like me, I've been a cop for 18 years. I've never been in an officer involved shooting. And I've worked in some pretty, intense, like high crime areas or high crime, and worked in like and like some high level assignments where we're dealing with lots of violent people and having some pretty tense interactions or whatever. Been on scene for quite a few officer involved shootings, but personally, no, I've never actually been a shooter on an OAS. So I guess that this to say is that a combination of things that it feels like sometimes it's happening more than it really is, but it's not happening nearly as often as some people might think. And another comment on that. You said that the fear of getting involved in a shooting, like you guys you would just basically have the guns like kind of locked up, or I don't know how you referenced it, but like it sounded like a Barney Fife, like the one bullet in the pocket kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we were conditioned one, like around chambered all the
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
And we weren't necessarily scared to use the weapon in that sense, but what would happen to us in
Yes,
our career
because it's
afterwards?
so rare.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think of um, different agencies are going to be different too in the where they are located and like what kind of crimes they're dealing with. And so I have a friend that I work with who he left our department and he went to a nicer area, went to an agency that was in a nicer area that had a different crime problems. Like we have a lot of violent crime here, a lot of homicides and a lot of shootings and stabbings. And this place that he went to work is on the coast. It's a nice area, and the biggest thing that they would deal with, like their big thing was DUIs. They had basically zero violent crime, very little property crime, but it's a town where people would go and then
It's a lot of drunk.
a lot of drunks. Yeah, and maybe not a lot, but if you have zero violent crime and there's very little theft and there's no vandalism, it's like, well, what are the police going to
Yeah.
do
What
with
are we
their
going to
time?
focus on? Yeah.
Whereas here, like we have probably a lot more drunks, but we also have people getting murdered. So it's like, okay, we're gonna put a lot of energy towards stopping the murder, and we'll enforce DUIs as well, but that's not like our primary focus.
Yeah, we've got bigger fish to fry, essentially.
And so, anyways, he goes to this agency and he got involved in a use of force. He got in a fight with somebody that he had to beat up, and it's totally justified for what the guy was doing and with the actions that he took. But his supervisor was like, didn't know how to handle it. It was like a shock, like, oh my God, I can't believe that this had happened. And it was just like a low level like fight that he got in. And we kind of laughed about it because he would get into so many fights so frequently all the time that it was just not like run of the mill, but like we knew how to handle that. And like a supervisors here knew, like they were dealing with him all the time. And the supervisor he had there I don't know if he had never dealt with it or had never had a use of force like that, but it was like such a rare occurrence. It was treated to them like the level of seriousness that we would treat like a shooting here, because it's just
Doesn't happen
it's-
over
it
there.
just
so
does not happen.
infrequent.
So
yeah.
infrequent, yeah. So anyway, I guess what I'm getting at is different agencies are, they have different problems and different responses and different levels of violence that are happening in the community and different levels of violence that are needed to, enforce the law from the agency. So yeah, it's kind of a lot there.
Well, I got another good topic. First Amendment auditors.
Mm.
They're getting popular. I remember I seen the first video maybe like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Because they do it in all different aspects. You have some that antagonize, then you have some that are a little more respectful. But what do you think about the concept in and of itself?
I mean, it's like on a personal level, it's annoying. Right. Well, it's like, so this is a new phenomenon. Again, I've been a cop for 18 years and I've seen like the arc of things change over that time for like 2 decades. There's all kinds of things that have changed over time. And this is a thing that didn't exist before. It's just because of the technology has come along. Like everyone's got a smartphone and everyone has access to like social media, and streaming platforms or whatever. And so that in 2007 that didn't exist. There was no
Yeah.
such thing as a smartphone, and like YouTube existed, but like it wasn't a very popular thing. And so now like anybody with a smartphone can, have a YouTube account and they can stream and record anything.
Because when we were trained and we're standing on post, for example, we were told if someone drives by with a camera try to get that camera, confiscate it, delete whatever they
Yeah.
got. Like that's what we were trained. But
Yeah.
now that I watch these videos, I'm like, oh shit, people have rights. I forgot. You know?
Yeah, well, it's different in a military base because you have an actual legitimate threat, like a
Mhm.
legitimate concern. Like,
Yeah.
are they doing reconnaissance for the purpose
Yeah.
of some sort of terrorist attack or something like that?
But now their argument is, well, you can capture all this on Google Image. So what's the
Yeah.
difference between me and them?
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, and that's not a justification for seizing the camera or whatever. But like, I understand the mindset, especially. You got to think about different eras too. If you're coming off of like the Cold War era and these duty stations that are in Europe and they have a legitimate concern that like KGB intelligence is like trying to get info on the base, that could be the
Mhm.
policy that was in effect at one time, say like early '90s, and that trickles over into like when was it that you were in the Navy?
2008 to 2013.
Yeah, so 2008, like those people that worked in that era are still around, and it takes a while for those kind of
Yeah.
policy and the mindset to change or whatever. So it would make sense that in 2008, you're like, hey, if somebody's coming by with a camera, we're really focused and worried about that
Yeah.
because of and terrorism.
And that's kind of what intrigued me because I'm like, well, shit, if I'm putting myself in that position, I would have took the camera and
Yeah.
deleted it. But then now you start
No.
learning about rights and the First Amendment and all that.
Yeah.
Now you're like, oh, wait, should I have done that? Was I trained right? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, when I say that they're annoying, I say that like on a personal level, it's just annoying to have someone in your face with a camera, right? But as far as a right, yes, it's their right. It's their First Amendment right to record. They're in a public place; they can record all they want, and so I guess we didn't really get into what a First Amendment auditor does. What we deal with in policing and civilian policing is First Amendment auditor will show up with a smartphone usually. They'll have it hooked up and they'll stand there and they'll record you when you're like on a stop or a call for service. You're doing some police activity, some police action. I've had them show up to like when we're out training and just stand there and record us. And you got to think like, what is their goal? Like, what is their end goal? Their end
Mhm.
goal is to get as many views as they can get to their channel.
Hmm.
So they're trying to do something or generate something that's interesting that people are going to want to view. And so like what I tell officers is like, if you just don't do anything interesting, like they're just going to get tired of you.
Yeah, that's what I was going to
They're
say.
just
If you
gonna-
don't react, they got nothing to work with.
Yeah, you don't, I mean, you can, I don't say completely ignore them, but like don't turn and like focus your attention on them unless they're actually obstructing your ability to do your job. If they're getting in your way physically, if they're harassing the people that you're in contact with and you're forced to like take action and, give them direction or whatever, then yeah, deal with it. But typically they know because they know like how close they can get without being too close to be obstructing. And they know that they're pretty well versed in what they can get away with, what they can't get away with.
Yeah.
And so if you just don't engage, then they'll just get kind of bored with you. And they're going to move on. They're going to try to find someone who will engage with them and will generate because what they ultimately want you to do is to say or do something stupid that's going to make you look dumb, or they really want you to say or do something that's going to be a violation of their rights. It's going to be illegal because that's their whole shtick.
Yeah, exactly.
And they want to generate content. And if you just don't give them anything to turn into content, then they're going to move on to the next guy or girl. And what will happen usually is if you don't engage with them, they'll kind of get annoyed and they'll try to like poke and prod at you. And so then they'll start like saying things to you to try to piss you off, like make fun of you or like tell you like whatever they're trying to generate a response. And if you just like ignore them when they're barking whatever they're saying at you, again, you can usually get them to just get tired of you and to
and you almost have to like develop a filter to be like, they might say some offensive shit, but I've got to block it out.
Oh yeah.
And like leave my ego alone because they're just trying to rile me up, basically.
Yeah, and that's the way with anything. Like, even not dealing with a First Amendment auditor as a police officer, you're going to you're only dealing with people that are in a state of like crisis or in a state of like no one called you. You didn't show up today because they were having a good day and they just wanted to hang out with you and talk to you. Right. You got called because there was some kind of real problem that has elevated to the point where now they need a third party government official to come in and intervene and take over. Right. They're having a problem, or they were doing something and then you stopped them on like a traffic stop and like nobody likes being pulled over. Like they have a problem. Like they're like, you're only dealing with people that are like having a bad day. And so like you're not dealing with people when they're at their best.
Yeah, exactly.
And so you're always going to be getting like negative feedback and people making negative comments. And so you kind of have to forget about First Amendment auditors, but just like you just have to thick skin and like know that people are going to say rude and offensive things to you and like just not let it bother you and don't take it personal. But especially with First Amendment auditors, because that's like, again, that's their whole shtick, is they want you to react, they want you to do something that they can turn into a clip and that they can go viral and that they can get more followers.
Do you think there's anything that police departments can do to make it phase out, or do you think it ever will phase out, or it's here to stay?
I don't know. As far as phasing out, no, I don't think so. I think that it's so popular, and especially coming off 2020, things are kind of swaying back to where the public is less anti-law enforcement or more pro-law enforcement, I guess you could say. And so, but there's still a ton of people that hate the police and they just want to consume content of cops getting talked to, and disrespected, or, consume content of cops saying and doing dumb things or violating people's rights so that they can be mad about it and they can complain about it. So it's going to exist. Another thing that it's not First Amendment auditors, but it's kind of along that same vein is live streamers. Have you seen this? Yeah.
I think they're like IRL, like in real life streamers, where they just stream their entire day.
Yeah, well, but specifically for police guys that they're like here in our agency, like our town is about just under 500,000 people, and we have about 500 officers. So that's for size reference, and we probably have, I don't know, what do you think, Nick? 15 live streamers that work our area.
I would say, yeah, between 10 and 15, yeah.
Yeah, somewhere along that. And so if you're working like a patrol shift on a Saturday night and you get a hot call comes out for something, say stabbing or shooting, like a lot of the time before you even get there, like, because these guys are listening to the scanner, they're listening to the radio, and they're going to these calls. And so they're going places where they think some sort of interesting action is going to occur, and they set up and they record. And they'll have it in their vehicles, and they'll stream all night. So they'll start streaming at whatever time they come in at, like 7, 8 o'clock, and they'll be out, till 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, and they just go call to call. They try to just get interesting police footage.
Yeah.
Now their shtick is a little bit different in that they're not trying to get you to say or do something that's going to like be offensive and generate the content. They're just trying to capture like a pursuit or a use of force or anything that's interesting and have it captured during their stream. And so they generally are respectful and polite to the police because they want you to allow them to get as close to the action as they can get, so they can get the best shot of it. Yeah. And if they create an adversarial relationship with the officers, well, it's going to be harder for them to do that. Yeah, yeah. So I've had a lot of them will come up, they'll be super friendly, and be like, hey, here's like I've had guys give me like merch, for like their channel or whatever. Wow. Like, yeah, check out these mugs, I have here. You can have one, and they try to be super friendly with you.
So they're a little more supportive as opposed to the auditors are a little more confrontational because they're trying to rile up the scenario.
And they're supportive in the sense that like I think that they just want you to like not pay attention to them. And I wrote this article I put in our local paper and on Substack. It was called Streamer Empire. I was talking about there was this Netflix documentary called Chimp Empire. I don't know if you ever watched it.
Nah,
the guy that made it was on Joe Rogan, and he was talking about there's this group of chimps in Africa that have been studied by humans for so many decades now that they're used to human contact. And like because most chimp troops that you come across in the jungle, you won't ever see them because they see you coming from miles away and they just avoid you. But these chimps, this family or whatever, has been around humans for like 40 years, to where like they're okay with being around humans and having them around. They have a couple of rules. You can't have like food, and like you can't get like too close to them, but like they'll just let the camera crews come in and record them. So they made this whole like really interesting documentary. Anyways, my point is that the camera crews for that documentary are a lot like streamers have become now for modern policing. Is like we just get so used to them that like we don't even pay attention.
They're like a fly on the wall, basically.
Yeah, it's just like they'll show up. You'll be like, what the? I remember when I first saw one, I'm like, why is that guy over there? Like, there's two guys with cameras. They're out recording. Who are these people? I just saw them over there. And then like, but now it's like, I've been on a call one time where I counted 9 streamers at the same call.
Wow.
All there recording at the same time. And like, you'll see them on pursuits too a lot because I like to get in the pursuits. You're like, you'll be chasing a car and you're like, I just saw that car. I just saw the car again, and you keep seeing them as you're like hitting turns, and like that's that same little shitty Kia, like a Kia Soul. There's one of them that drives a Kia Soul. You know what I'm talking about? And like that's the same Kia Soul. I've seen that like 4 times in the same pursuit. Like what the hell?
If anything, their technology is going to get better. They're going to be having drones following you guys.
Yeah. But so, anyways, we see him so much that like we've become like the chimps from Chimp Empire, where we don't even like notice them anymore. They're just like around recording us.
Yeah, and they're usually pretty good too. Like if you just be like, "Hey, you can film from like here."
Yeah.
They'd be like, "Okay, cool, thanks."
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think like because I watch a lot of those videos and I'm in the comment sections, I feel like when the police officers like interact like respectfully and not like kill them with kindness, essentially, the comment section's like, "Oh, that's such a cool cop. He's so chill. Like, give that guy a raise."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like the way to combat them is killing them with kindness.
You just be polite and respectful, and then like the one big thing they always like to quiz you on the First Amendment. They're like, what are the five five protections of the First Amendment? You know, it says speech, assembly, religion, the right to petition, and what's the other? And not protest, speech, assembly, religion. I'm fucking this up. Here I am. Here I would fail the audit right now. The right to petition the government, and then one other thinking of right now. Oh, the press. Duh.
Yeah, it
So
reminds me.
those are the five, and they'll ask you, and if you know that, and you just say that, they're like, oh my god, it's like a big deal to them.
Yeah,
You know that.
it reminds me of being in the military. We were supposed to know certain information like verbatim.
Yeah.
So if your leader comes up and questions you, you're supposed to know it verbatim.
Yeah, you're supposed to know like your 12 general orders.
Yeah, exactly. So when I watch these auditing videos, it reminds me of that, and you know, I'd just be like spout it out verbatim. Then they'd be like, "Oh shit, he doesn't know what he's talking about."
Yeah, and if you know those five things, and if you choose to engage with them or whatever, sometimes you kind of have to. You're stuck in a situation where they're just talking directly, and you can't go anywhere, and you either just look like a robot that doesn't say anything, and then that's going to be the thing that they use.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you just are polite and respectful, and you know those five protections, and you don't like say or do anything, like it's either gonna when it gets posted, it's gonna be like kind of positive because most of the people that are watching that are going to it because they want to see something that they're going to be mad about. So in the comment section, they're still going to say, "Oh yeah, but you got a stupid face" or something. You know? But I would say most of the time those videos aren't even going to go up because that's not what they want. They want some kind of negative interaction.
Yeah.
So if they get a positive interaction out of you, then it's just like whatever. They don't use it.
Do you guys ever have a fear of being a thumbnail one day?
Oh yeah,
Just having a goofy picture of themselves, like, God damn it, they use me as a thumbnail.
Oh yeah, Nick and I have both been thumbnails.
Yeah,
really?
Both been thumbnailed already.
Do you guys send it to each other like, "Oh, you made it, you're famous"?
Yeah. There was one Nick was on, and him and this other officer were this girl had, I don't know if she called or someone called for her, but she was suicidal, and they show up and they're dealing with her, and they're trying to get our MET services, our mobile evaluation team to come over, and then they end up transporting her to a mental health facility. And so they're dealing with like non-crime, right? And these auditors show up and they start like trying to instigate Nick, and they're trying to instigate the other officer. And then they asked for the supervisor, and I came out there and I talked to him. And they're just like trying as hard as they can. And I remember at one point Nick said to him like, "What do you like? Why don't you like you said like why don't you give her some space or something like that?" And then the guy was like, "I don't have to." And you were like, "Yeah, you don't have to, but like this poor lady, this lady's in crisis. So like, why don't you? Like, why are you acting like that? Like all up in this poor girl's face. She doesn't want any, like, she didn't sign up for this. Like, yeah, we signed up for it. So,
and it exists on the internet eternally.
Yeah,
and now this girl's like most vulnerable moment is
and
in
you guys are
existence.
just like, why do you got to be that way? Like, like, I get you want like your 12 followers to like, you know, like your video or whatever, but like I'm gonna be a dick.
You don't gotta be a dick about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess my personal opinion is that they're annoying and they're frustrating. My professional opinion is it's their right to do it, and it is on the officers to make sure that they, you know, understand the Constitution well enough to not violate somebody's rights, and also like don't let some idiot with an iPhone get under your skin so bad that you're gonna like make yourself look like an ass, you know, and you end up as thumbnail. Like, well, I say we've ended up as thumbnails without even saying or doing anything like dumb. It's just, you know, they find
the right edit,
the right distortion of your face to like make you look stupid or whatever.
They're just going frame by frame. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah. But I mean, but the video isn't going to be that popular because people are going to watch that like that's dumb, and then they're not going to share it, and it's not going to gain any traction. So yeah. It's annoying, but it is what it is, and that's what we got to deal with now. So they're out there.
Yeah, that's the reality we live in. Yeah, and then I was asking some friends and family members what questions they wanted to ask, and the most common one was how to get out of a ticket.
How to get out of a ticket? That's funny. I don't know. I can't get out of a ticket.
Yeah.
No. Um, how do you get out of?
I told him, I'm like, just be respectful and like,
Oh, you mean like before it's written? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, after it's written, that's kind of it.
because my experience has always been, if you're just honest and you're not bullshitting or lying about anything, that's going to go a long way.
Mhm.
Like nothing's going to determine whether or not you get a ticket other than the situation and
Yeah,
Their behavior.
the
for sure.
circumstances. Yeah.
yeah.
I would say for sure, like if someone's just really cool, like I'm more apt to give them a warning versus if someone's just super rude off the bat, like
Mhm.
Like
bitching about,
instantly
like,
confrontational,
Yeah,
it's
like-
gonna end bad. There's no.
yeah, because
Yeah.
right now we're required to, like, when you stop someone, you immediately tell them your name and the reason you stopped them,
Mhm.
so that way no one can say anything. Be like, hey, my name's Officer Nick. Like the reason I stopped you is you rolled that stop sign back there. Like I
Mhm.
need to see your ID, registration, insurance, and then and they start being rude after that. Then like, okay, I'm for sure gonna give you a ticket now. Like you're being a dick. I
Yeah.
just told you all the things that I pulled you over for, but if they're super cool and I go and run them and I'm like, hey, make sure you stop next time.
Yeah,
And then
and
off they go.
that's a newer. I don't know how long it's been around that way, but there's like an actual kind of script. That's when I first started. It was a lot more
Whatever you wanted.
kind of freelance on how you conducted it. But now there's
Mhm.
a set script, like you said, like you say introduction, your name, the reason for the stop, and so they know firsthand before that interaction starts.
Yeah.
As far as getting out of it, like it just depends on who's stopping you, and like what their purpose, what their main purpose is. And what
Yeah,
I
if
mean
you're
by that
driving.
is, like, if you're a patrol officer and you're making a traffic stop, like your focus, your assignment as a patrol officer isn't traffic enforcement. So like um you can write tickets, and they do write patrol officers do write tickets, but that's not their main job. So they're less likely to give you an actual ticket than a warning.
Mhm.
Whereas if you're a traffic officer, like say you're a motor cop, like motor cops, their job is traffic enforcement. So they investigate all accidents. Like anytime there's a crash, they
Mhm.
handle the crash investigation and write the report and everything. Anytime there's a fatal, like, and their concern is traffic safety. So they're doing all the accident investigations, and then they're taking the measures to prevent accidents from happening.
Gotcha.
Right. So like that's where you get the speeding tickets and the stop sign, the stoplight violation tickets, because those are the things that cause traffic accidents. So you have a motor cop who drives a motorcycle. Their job is to reduce the number, or attempt to reduce the number of traffic accidents that are occurring. And the way they're doing that is by citing people for speeding and citing
Yeah.
people for running. So if you get pulled over by a motorcycle cop, like, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
you're getting a ticket.
Yeah. That's their main duty is
Yeah,
to
but-
prevent.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're gonna get a ticket.
Yeah.
If so, I guess look and see what vehicle they're operating.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
they're operating a car, then you have a better chance.
Yeah.
And just in life in general, you get a lot more out of people by just being polite and respectful, no matter what interaction that you're having. So I would recommend doing that.
Yeah, I seen an article the other day. CHP got like 100 Durangos for the freeways, and then they said to prevent risky drivers. So I called my brother because he's on the freeway a lot for work. I'm like, hey, look out for Durangos. He's like, why? I'm like, because those are the new CHPs. Not that he speeds or anything. I'm just letting him know. It's 5 seconds later. He's like, oh shit! I just seen the first Durango pull someone over right here.
Yeah.
Because I think they have factory paint. Like they're not.
Yeah, they're
Like the normal
they're
marked
black,
vehicles. Yeah.
gray.
Black, gray, and it's all factory paint.
Yeah, they're not black and white anymore,
Huh.
and they don't have light bars on top.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Are they still setting up and like shooting radar?
I'm pretty sure they're still doing that, but it's just more so that people can't easily identify
Yeah.
their patrol vehicles.
Like to do that, sit on the ramp, on the on ramp,
Yeah.
and shoot the radar as the cars pass because you can't see them from there. Yeah. Yeah, if you get pulled over by highway patrol, again, highway patrol is essentially like a statewide traffic division. Like
Mhm.
that's their job, is they investigate accidents on the highway, and they try to do things to prevent accidents from occurring. So if you get pulled over by the highway patrol, you're probably going to get a ticket too.
Yeah.
I've never gotten out of a ticket from the highway patrol.
Yeah, me too.
Even when I was like full on in uniform, like had my class what was it, like my class B's dress uniform, and he was just like, all right, cool. And I was like going like 80
Mm.
and like a 70.
Yeah, you're
He's
talking about
just
your
like-
military uniform.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I got out of one. I was on leave and I was
From
late for.
CHP?
Yeah. I was late for a date. I think I was doing like 95.
Mhm.
And he
Jesus.
pulls me over. He's like, "What's the rush?" I'm like, "Dude, I'm late. I'm on leave. First of all, it's my last day. I'm supposed to meet this girl at the movie theaters. It's
Yeah.
our first date." He's like, "You know what? Take this road."
Yeah.
And he let me go. I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
respect, dude. I appreciate
He
it."
probably wasn't on a motor.
Nah, I
Yeah.
don't think so.
Yeah, I got stopped one time driving back to 29 Palms, and I was in somewhere in the middle of the desert in San Bernardino. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning because I would stay at, as late as I could or whatever, and get back at like, 3, 4 a.m. on Monday.
Mhm.
We had formation at like 7. And I was like nodding off driving my truck and like kind of like trying to stay awake. And so I would like turn the music up loud or like roll the window down, like chain smoke, like and one day I was just like, I had the music cranked up and I was like rock out to whatever song and I was like hitting the horn on my truck and it's like honking. But it was like in the middle of like, there's like no civilization. There's nobody anywhere for like miles. And I was like randomly honking the horn, like thinking, no, and some San Bernardino County deputy was just like parked behind a rock somewhere and like pulls me over and like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." Like, why are you honking your horn?
Yeah.
It's for emergency.
None of this makes
Yeah,
sense, right?
Yeah, that doesn't make sense. Like, what are you doing? I was like, But anyways, I guess I wasn't breaking any laws. I didn't get a ticket, but
Yeah.
I was probably speeding because I used to drive.
You're just enjoying the solitude.
Just enjoying the solitude of the high desert at fucking 2 o'clock in the morning. Oh, yeah. Any other questions from the audience?
I think that's it. I definitely had a good time on here. I got a bunch of stories I could tell, so I would definitely look forward to doing another episode with you guys.
Yeah, whenever you want.
This was fun.
Cool. Well, yeah. Thanks, Chris, for coming out and talk to us. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and stay frosty.
Hope everyone learned a little something today.